So first off, I'd like to thank NewsGator for putting us on right after the comedian. Yeah. So my name's Scott Cobett. I work in corporate communications at Oakley. My team is responsible for all of the internal communications as well as brand and executive communications externally. What we're going to talk to you guys about today is a site we've developed. Just went live 2 months ago, so it's still in its infancy. And I really just want to kind of convey to you guys how we got there, from what I wanted to where I got, and how James and the team at Synergy helped me get there. So, for context, I want to kind of let you guys know who we are. We live by this mantra. So our founder said this, 1975 he said this, so 37 years ago. He said that everything in the world can and will be made better, and it's still something we instill into every project we do today. So we think differently. We have a saying around the building that if everyone thinks we're crazy, we're probably on the right path. This is actually one of our values. So Oakley isn't where we work, it's who we are. We are an incredibly, incredibly passionate group of people. I know a lot of companies say that, but here's a good example, actually. So I gave this very similar presentation about a week ago. I showed this slide, and it was to the organization. I said, who of you in the last 10 days has participated in one of these sports? 90% of the people raised their hands. We encourage mountain biking at lunch. We encourage snowboarding with your buddies on a Friday. I have a bi-weekly motocross ride I do with one of our GMs. So it's really important that we're passionate and authentic to who we are, because we are all customers. We're the ones that are testing the product before you guys ever see it, so we got to make sure it's legit. God, it really is distracting with all the computers. Anyways, so that's who we are. So as a business, by the numbers, just kind of a perspective in who we are. So there's really 3 things we drive our business around, and it's making wicked cool stuff. James told me not to use the other word. Have fun doing it, and make sure we make enough money to support number 1 and 2. And we do own, I thought this picture was appropriate, we do own a tank. We bought it from the Czech Republic about 2 years ago. We had to de-arm it. We have a big form framed in our lobby that we had to go through the U.S. Who does it? ATF. So we had to go through ATF and fill out a form and say we won't, shoot this at people and stuff like that. So we had to give a big corporate presentation. We're not very good at that. So we had this these texts fly in. It was like, as the seas of change in business come through. And we actually dug a hole, filled it with water, put a sailboat in it, put our competitor stickers all over it, and then had the tank destroy the crap out of it. It was good. It was a mess, though. We're a $1 billion company on our way to 2. We have 5,000 employees around the globe. We have 115 O stores, which is our retail stores, and 71 Vault stores. Vault stores are kind of like our version of an outlet. We serve customers in over 100 countries at the moment. And we are actually owned by a company called Luxottica. Luxottica is a huge eyewear conglomerate. They own Ray-Ban. They're more of a licensing, but they actually own us as a brand. So I actually got a video because we're in Denver, and the snow has been pure crap in Southern California where I live. And we love snowboarding, so I'm kind of amped to see everyone carrying around snowboards and boots around here. So this is us in the wintertime. So it's really a pain in the ass, like the days I have to go shoot these videos. I mean,
how's your health insurance policy?
yeah. So where we were, I joined Oakley 3 years ago, and one of the things that was brought up in my interview is we don't have an intranet, we don't have a newsletter, we've got all these random places that are holding forums, we have all these random internal newsletters that are going by departments. So my initial response was, okay, let me handle this. I built a WordPress site that was hosted externally, and for what we needed at the time, it was perfect. It was super basic, held a few forums, had 4 news stories every week, everything from product news to employee interviews, contests, business updates, etc. So essentially a digital newsletter. So let me go back. So when I launched that 3 years ago, I said, can we make this interactive? The response I got was, we don't want to hear what people have to say. Okay, well, we won't. So then 6 months ago, CEO comes up to me, hey, we need to make Bunker Blast more interactive. Like, okay. So Bunker Blast is the name of the site. Our building that you guys saw in the beginning, it's called the Bunker. We kind of have this militant theme that we put through everything.
The tank did not give that away.
No? Okay. You'll see.
When we first went there, we got lost, and there was a corporate park across the road, and we were driving around looking for the building, couldn't find it anywhere, and then all of a sudden we were like, oh, there's a tank. It's over there.
Yeah. There's a series of automatic weapons set up in various corridors, and the military is one of our biggest clients, so that's a big reason behind it. But yeah, James was a little. Anyways, so what we needed, going back, so 6 months ago, he comes to me, hey, can you make it more interactive? I'm like, dude, I wanted to do this 3 years ago. Okay, we can do it. So in my mind, started conceptualizing how we could do this. They told me they want Wikipedia, they want MySpace, they want Facebook, they want Twitter. Mind you, none of them have ever been on any of these sites. I'm like, okay, so why don't I tell them what they want a little bit? So I thought this next phase could be a destination for all of our digital resources. So we are growing crazily right now. We have, in the last 5 years, over 50% of our population is new. So we're growing at an extraordinary rate, and with that is coming all these kind of different internal sites that people are having to access for different things, and they're getting pissed off because they can't remember passwords, et cetera, like that. So that was one aspect. Another was personal profiles, search. We needed an activity feed. We needed a culture destination. I wanted somewhere where people could go drink the Kool-Aid, and I wanted something unique. And I didn't want anybody to call it an intranet, because we're different and we don't call things what other people call things. So do not use the word intranet. I think James used intranet like 5 times the first time I met him.
And we still got hired.
It so pissed me off. So finding a comrade. One thing I didn't mention is with Bunker Blast, I started to dabble in SharePoint a little bit before this whole concept was introduced to me from the leadership. And I went through a series of vendors that were less than ideal. They didn't really understand what I wanted. I would tell them what I wanted, and then I would get something that didn't make sense. It was not user-friendly. It didn't look right. It just wasn't there. So having worked with these people, I got a way better idea of what I'm looking for in a comrade. So I needed a cross between an agency and an IT shop. And what that means is, so I'm a communications guy, and computers are not my strong point. I sit in a conference room with IT, and we don't communicate well. So I need someone that was multilingual. I need someone that could speak my speak and IT speak and be the translator for me. Design, we are a design-driven company, so it needed to be awesome. It needed to not look like SharePoint, but still be SharePoint. Strategy, we've never done this, so I need help with launch and sustainability. And training. This is a new concept for Oakley. I think our median age is around 25.
Making Scott one of the older employees at the company.
Yes, thank you. Yes. But still, it was a new concept. It's not Facebook, it's not Twitter, so we needed to teach them how to use it. So Synergy. And I got to start off by saying, so I went through this whole process of, combing through vendors, who I wanted to work with. And I think I missed our first phone call like 7 times.
Yep.
But he was still really nice.
And we were like, this guy is not serious.
But after talking to him, he could deliver exactly what I needed. He could fill in the gaps where we couldn't. And he'll get more into the specifics of the requirements, but there was some pretty aggressive and gnarly things we needed them to do within the time frame.
And I had to look up the word gnarly because I'm not from here.
Denver says gnarly, don't they?
Well, we don't. Not where I'm from.
Well, I guess you can talk about the vision then now.
I can talk about the vision.
Okay.
So Scott put together a set of outline requirements and spent a lot of time putting it together and wanted to be very clear as to what he wanted. So he told me he was going to send me everything he had, all the detail, everything. And I kept it, and this is what I received. And as you can see, it's extremely detailed. It lays out all the key functions that he's looking for. It took resolution into account. He wanted a widescreen site.
I thought it looked great on the cocktail napkin.
We scanned it because it was pretty funny. And he asked us if we could build it, and we said, maybe. We need a little bit more information. And he said, but this is it. We're good. How much will it be? So we went into a period of definition where we had to lock down exactly what they were looking for. So Scott's going to tell you about the business requirements, then I'm going to tell you how we implemented them.
So I was pretty pissed off because apparently that wasn't detailed enough. So James kind of gave me an outline of, here's the things I want you to tell me. So these are the requirements I came out with. So purposeful design. As I mentioned earlier, we are a design-driven company. Everything we do has a purpose, and we make it that way for a reason. So within design, I need him to design for the future. Make something that was scalable, that had some shelf life, and I could grow into. Do not emulate what already exists, because we are unique, and I don't want to see my site anywhere else. And make it aesthetically beautiful and functionally sound. I had a beautiful site, but it was definitely not functionally sound. It was held up by matchsticks. I was writing straight HTML code into SharePoint, which was rad. Mobility for Oakley users. This was a huge one, huge. So a large contingent of our staff are on the field at events, and if they had the capability to capture things that are, who's a golf fan? So Rory McRory is one of our guys. And we had 5 people on the ground on Sunday, and they were literally blowing up the stream as he was killing it. And that's what people are rallying around, Or Daytona 500, we had guys there, and they're uploading straight to the stream. So it needed to be available anywhere on the planet, easy, intuitive, and right there at their fingertips. Family. So like I mentioned before, we're growing, but a lot of people joined Oakley because it is a family aspect. I would say 90% of my best friends I work with, we all hang out on the weekends. But as we grow, it's getting tougher to be like that. We're growing in geographies, we're growing in population size, and it's starting to get a disconnect. So we needed to bring that back together. Individuality.
I've tried these glasses on.
Yeah.
They're cool.
That's James, wearing the over-the-tops. I got to tell you the story about this. So there's a story floating around that these got designed because there was a little boy who didn't have ears and wanted sunglasses. But we're all trying to call BS on that because it's such an urban myth. Anyways. It's just, it's like CorpCom. I should know these things, but that came up. Individuality. We're unique. It needed to be unique to each person in some way, whether that was profiles. I didn't know. I wanted him to help me with that. Search. In the current Bunker Blast, we were filtering content by tags. And the problem is we just had such a large amount of content that it was a pain to slew through all the content, even after you'd filtered through the tag. Recognition and badging. So this was huge for us. We've never had a public forum in which we could give someone recognition or honor them for something or a project they've worked on. So at the moment, we have 3 different badges. We have the top ones are gold, silver, bronze engine room badges. So that's based on your interactivity with the site. There's tenure badges. And then we also have some culture badges. which are awarded manually by the CEO and other people that they feel like are starting to get the brand. Outside sales. So we have about 1,000 people that essentially what they are is that they are on the ground working with accounts, delivering our product. And we consider them part of the family, but they were not in our Active Directory, so they wouldn't have had access to SharePoint. So that was a huge thing for us, not only with the mobility piece, because they can capture cool things as they're happening, but also just keeping them informed, because they're the ones walking into your, sporting goods store, walking into your ophthalmic store, and they're the ones, putting the product out there. So they needed to be informed. Implementation requirements. So this is part of that language I don't understand. So James will talk about it.
So after we'd spent some time taking our initial detailed scope of work and figuring out what we actually wanted, we then had to implement it. And we'll do the IT slide first. So at the time, Oakley didn't have any way of accessing the network externally unless they VPN'd in. So that wasn't going to work with their mobile requirements. So we needed a secure solution to access the network securely via a TMG server. We needed to get those 1,000 people in the sales force into the Active Directory. And we needed to make sure that it was built and scalable for the future. Then, or at the same time, we needed to design, build, content populate, design navigation, train, 3 major sites, because why build one when you can build 3? And as Scott mentioned, Oakley is very, very design-oriented. So that each of these 3 sites needed to look completely different to one another whilst working within the construct that is SharePoint. We needed to figure out the social strategy, implement it, make sure it was going to work for the culture, and then we needed to build out the infrastructure, test everything, made sure it worked. And Scott was kind enough to give us 11 weeks.
Easy.
From the day we started to the day it launched. And they had a global sales meeting, and it was not moving. But he did let us have lunch on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
They got to see their families one day. It was cool.
So the timeline, 11 weeks. And, of course, we had to take standard implementation rules into account, which is that things would change constantly throughout the project until such time as we went live. And Scott was kind enough to make sure that this happened, but we figured it out in the end. So to go through the actual timeline, we did the initial discovery from when we received that initial piece of paper. We ran from the end of Q3, and we kicked the project off on the 1st of November. The team was thrilled. Thanksgiving's in 3 weeks, yes. And we launched on time the week of January the 9th in time for the sales meeting on January the 13th. We didn't have a lot of leeway for things to go wrong. So launch strategy.
So this is something we knew we had to do. Synergy helped us outline how we were going to do it, but I had a few mechanisms I knew I was going to use already. This is something in hindsight I've coined the 48-hour blitz. This is 3,000 Oakley employees in front of our HQ the day we launched our site. So coincidentally, once every few years, we fly in 3,000 of our employees for a global sales meeting. It was within 3 days of when we were planning to launch. So I begged, borrowed, stealed, entertained a lot of people, and carved out enough time to do about a 15-minute presentation to every single one of these people. So I was in their face. I said, hey, this site's live today. This is why it's cool. This is why you need to use it. This is why it's important. Did that. By the time they got out of the presentation in their inboxes, they had a newsletter that had announced the site, had new content in it, and how to use the site. And this is something Synergy helped us out with a ton was we needed training, but we needed it to be accessible at the moment the site was live. So and it was interesting because we were like cleaning up and getting ready the evening before the sales meeting, and it was like when you move into a new house and the movers move all your stuff in, and you're so excited, and we were like, we're out of here. Enjoy. We watched the videos afterwards. We were too tired to stay and watch. So training. This is in addition to the regular training that you would expect, the IT operations training and training corp comms on how to actually administer the system.
We also needed to make sure that everybody was going to know how to use the system. Now, we mentioned before that the average age at Oakley is about 25, so you would assume that that instantly means that everybody would just instantly take to this. But as Scott mentioned, it isn't Twitter, it isn't Facebook, it is something slightly different. So what we put together was a number of pages on the portal that gave people overview information on how to use things, and each of those had a small 1 to 3 minute video, and we recorded about 12 of those. And we recorded 12 videos, their look and feel, completely ready to go. And they were very informative, they were very useful, but they were dry. They didn't feel...
I don't think that's the word I used.
They were informative. So we had an idea, we recorded a test video, and we showed it to Scott, and Scott said, go for it. So they're into military things. So we re-recorded all the videos, and we created a character, and we're going to play one of those videos now.
Russian General here one more time. This time we are talking about following up with other users' posts and liking and commenting on other users' posts. Also, we will be showing you how to answer questions asked by somebody else. We will see here that somebody has posted that James Beck has replaced the track on BMP, which is good for Russian General, because I want to mow down the capitalists. So, I will click on the like button and show that I am very interested in this activity, and I provide comment to say, you spell BNP wrong, is Russian BMP. So here I am posting comment to follow up on the original post. Also, if somebody is asking question and using the ask a question or private message, you don't see comment link, you only see answer link. So here we will see Marlene is answering earlier question about when do we getting lunch. Here I will say answer as well. I bring my own. And here I answer questions. So very simple to follow up and like others' comments, and this is good.
So the day we went live...
Now, that was the edited version. There was some more dramatic language in there.
So the day we went live, we're walking around the building, and all we can hear is like, hello, Russian.
Yeah.
Hello,
because I had that popular.
But people watched them, and that was the goal.
We got a treat for you guys, actually. The Russian general is here today. If he could please stand up. Yes. We have an autograph table set up outside.
T-shirts.
Yeah,
works.
you know, $5 a piece.
So training was very important, and this really did help, and it worked really well with their culture. Put a bit of humor into it, and people will go and they'll watch the videos because it keeps them amused, and they learn how to use the system. So we've talked about the training and the scope, so now we can show you what we built. So where are we today? So the engine room is what the system is called. Their office is called the Bunker. They already have a corporate communication platform called Bunker Blast. So engine room was coined as the term, and engine room is now the be-all and end-all. Everything moving forward lives underneath engine room. So you remember this. We started with this. So at Synergy, we're very careful to make sure that we try and deliver to our clients' expectations.
I wanted exactly that.
He wanted exactly this. So here is what we produced.
It's beautiful. It's branded.
Exactly what he wanted.
It's easy to navigate.
No, here's what we produced. So this is the engine room. So when they land, all employees, IT changed the homepage when we went live. Everybody lands on the engine room site. The activity feed is baked in to all the look and feel. And there's some branding and custom code in here. One of the things you can do is they have a top destination site, which drops down from the top. So they have a number of different portals. There's a lot of information in the site. So wherever you are at any one time, you can always drop that down and jump out to one of the other key sites. Also, we built this accordion web part. Oakley likes things really clean. They don't like too much stuff on the screen at any one time, but also they want to communicate an enormous amount of information. So this is designed that it can be locked open. So when you load the site, they lock a particular accordion open. There's always new content, which is what Scott and his team keep current.
Yeah, so my team essentially every day when you come in, turn on your computer, you'll have a different accordion populated with a fresh piece of news. So it's never going to look the same within the same 24 hours.
And you can roll over it. Now, one thing that's worth pointing out, which wasn't on the requirements slide, is the whole thing also had to be completely iPad compliant. So everything, there's a lot of jQuery on the site. There's a lot of stuff to make. So it works iPad, Droid. It's completely compliant. It scales down to an iPad. It's not a mobile site. It's a SharePoint site that works perfectly on an iPad. That was one of the requirements that just added that extra little bit of fun in the enormous amount of time that we had to build the site out. So there's some browser elements, and there's a couple of other screens where when you go in a browser, you roll over and things highlight. On the iPad, it does a browser detect, so you can click the things and it doesn't click through on the iPad, and a Learn More button shows up, whereas on a Windows machine, you can roll over and click the item. So there's a bunch of cutesies in there as well. We also completely overhauled the My Sites. So as Scott said, they did have a fledgling Bunker Blast incarnation that was on SharePoint before, and that came with My Profile sites. Nothing had ever been done with it, and that was actually one of the biggest complaints when we kicked off the project and did the discovery, that people did not like it. It didn't feel Oakley, didn't give people the ability. So of course, thanks to social sites, we changed all that. We baked in the feed, put in badging and the automatic badging, what people have earned. This has been not surprisingly successful, very, very successful. Bronze, silver, and gold. Bronze was relatively easy to get. Silver was 5 times more difficult to get, and gold was like 5 times more difficult than that. And somebody got bronze within like a day of the go live. Not because it's easy to get, but because they're crazy. Yeah. They were walking down the corridor, uploading photos as they went, going on about it, and it was really, really cool. So there was a lot of groundswell.
There was one guy that was so crazy about it. He hadn't got his bronze badge yet, and we built this matrix of you had to do certain things to get to this badge. And he's coming down to my desk every day. What the hell? I'm posting like 15 things every day. Where's my damn badge? Took it all the way to the CEO. And the CEO comes up, just give him his stupid badge. So I did, and then he got it about 15 minutes later. So now he's got 2 badges, so he's stoked.
So, and we actually had a meeting when we were strategizing about how that was going to work, because we wanted the badging to be related to how people are going to interact with the system. So everything caps out. You can like things to a certain number of points, and if you guys are familiar with the Spotlight capability, it's very cool, because when it comes to the silver badge, then people started scratching on walls because you needed to like ask questions and answer questions, and we didn't tell anybody what the requirements were to earn the badges. So we were actually getting emails at Synergy from people that we'd worked with on the project saying, what am I doing? How do I get this badge? And we were like referring them back to Scott. So it was extremely successful. Yeah. And Oakley has a culture where they have a lot of military things where they traditionally created physical coins. So the badging concept is not new to them, but the ability for people to be awarded badges and for their colleagues to see it has been amazing.
Yeah, whoever gets a gold will actually get like a gold challenge coin. That's it's all emblazoned with the engine room stuff.
So original Bunker Blast, there was a SharePoint version in between this one and the one we built, but for all intents and purposes. So by design, we kept the essence of the original Bunker Blast. We ripped out the tagging, put in SharePoint tagging. This is a community site, so people can comment on it. And this is, right now, they only have 6 community sites, I think, which they don't call community sites, but they're sites that are specific to certain subject areas. And then they have their value sites, and this is an example of one of them.
So this is the one that is going to end up being like our Wikipedia. As I mentioned, we just launched values for the first time. What we did is one of the requirements was to build a site around it. So you can go to the site, it outlines our 5 values, and it has information on what the value means. It has a place that you can submit a story that you've experienced around that value, so kind of a longer narrative. But then also in the feed, you can actually hashtag to that value. So I'm trying to think of one I've done, but if I'm sitting like on if I'm sitting on a ski lift with Shaun White or something, so that's anyways. I tag it to authentic, passionate, performance, whatever the value is, I'll tag it to that and it'll populate in this feed. And then my team's actually capturing those also as they happen and making sure that they're documented into more of this Wikipedia kind of, asset we have. And what this will end up being is when a new hire comes to us and says, hey, what's Oakley about? Is we want to send them to this site because it's a documentation of all these experiences and stories that people have encountered around our brand.
And having heard some of them, they're pretty great stories to capture and capture that knowledge and experience. So, 11 weeks, start to finish. It was crazy. That is an understatement. But it did happen, and we're not done yet.
No. So like I said in the beginning, we live by the mantra our founder gave us: everything the world can and will be made better. I asked James to design this to be scalable, and we have, I think, about 5 other sites on the table right now. The next one's coming up is we're launching a eco site. When you think of Oakley, you don't think of green, but we're trying to change that.
Unless you think of military green.
You think of diesel fuel and tanks and not green. So this is just the first one that's coming down the pipe, but there's going to be 4 more sites following it, and obviously they all look different. That's one of the challenges he has when working with us, is we don't want any 2 sites to look different. If it has a different purpose, it's got to look different. So
whilst maintaining global navigation, search, everything else.
So that's where we are today. Like I said, I mean, we just launched 2 months ago, so I'm still tired, but it's been a pretty cool experience. We've got leadership buy-in. 2 of our SVPs are on it daily, posting stuff. A lot of excitement around the mobility piece. And it's really just kind of creating more of a thought process and how people are capturing things as how they're happening.
Any questions?
Yeah. Yes. Otterbox. It still lives on the site that it's dedicated to, so each one of those accordions is a site. But we do have, so that newsletter I showed that everyone got in their inbox, we send out a weekly one of those too. So it captures everything that happened. If they missed it, it's on that.
That newsletter you just mentioned, is that content driven from SharePoint?
No.
That's a great idea. We should talk about that.
No, it's just it's an e-marketing site, very similar to like Constant Contact or something. Just super simple to use.
Is there anything that that you had to add extra that you didn't get from the SharePoint or NewsGator end of things that you had to get, that you either had to get another party to be able to bring in, or were you able to find most of the functionality, the big functionality you needed using SharePoint and NewsGator?
I think that was for me. Yeah. There were some, well, we built some custom web parts, but all the custom web parts are completely object compliant, and everything happens in lists and libraries on the back end. So no, there was nothing in the project separate to the NewsGator tools that we needed for phase 1. There was some talk about back-end tools for the AD to keep things current, because the Salesforce changes, and we had to get these 1,000 people into the Active Directory, and there were no real processes behind how to manage that. So there are some ongoing discussions, and we needed the TMG server set up from a security perspective. But with regards to the actual SharePoint environment, it's SharePoint and NewsGator. And it's 2.1.
What?
Right now. So we're running 2.1. We're going to 2.5, 2.6 as soon as we can, because there are features in there that they're psyched to use. So.
Yeah. Someone told me I can do that like in the next 3 days, right?
I was thrilled that that was not in scope of work. Currently, it doesn't work on. We haven't done anything. We haven't been asked to do anything for smaller. We're using, from a social sites perspective, we're using the mobile app, so that works great. But there's no iPhone, Droid phone thing right now. It's not really a major consideration. I mean, they're such a socially oriented company that the mobile software is really doing its job.
That's been the one learning piece that everyone's caught on really well. because it is so similar to Facebook as far as the feed. That one kind of clicked in people's brains right away. It's more like the hashtag if you've never done it or that kind of stuff.
Sir, with the mobile apps, are you guys happy with the Android app? Are you happy with the iOS app? Are you happy with how branding is different than your site? Is that something you guys like, or?
Oh, the look and feel of it? Oh, there he is. Can you make it black? In an ideal world, I would love to have it branded, but I got to make some concessions at some point. I mean, it would be pretty damn cool to have it branded. Right now, our TMG forefront isn't branded, and that's been something I've gotten feedback on because these people that are traveling and accessing it via laptop are like, what is this? It looks like I'm signing on to my bank account. I'm like, okay, well, I'll fix it. But yeah, if you can make it black, it'd be great.
There's been some feedback on there's a lot of Droid users there, and the feedback from the users was that the Droid app wasn't as cool as far as they were concerned as the iOS app, but it definitely works. Mm-hmm. So people are using the mobile very, very heavily, which is great. And the people that do use iPads also interface with the whole site directly on the iPad, and then they do get the nice black interface.
Well, we're a team of 2 for 5,000 people, and this is just a piece of our job. But as we mentioned, I used to be the sole person up until about a year ago. There was me and one other person, and I was the sole internal communications person for all of Oakley. So I would only do a couple stories a week just because, workload-wise. We brought someone else on, and when we transitioned to the initial Bunker Blast SharePoint, we switched to daily because I made this person, basically her sole job is to keep the content fresh. So transitioning into the engine room, it really wasn't that big of a deal, and it actually got a little bit easier because each one of those other sites has an owner. So there's like a sales site, there's a sports site, and they all have their own respective content owners. So in a way, we're probably writing about 3 fresh stories just for Bunker Blast because that's what my team owns. And then we're making sure that they follow up and provide us content for each one of their respective verticals as well, so that it's not always just Bunker Blast news, it's sports news, it's, sales news. And the feed has actually helped out with this a lot. Prior, I did own all the sports news as well, so I'd get an email Sunday night at midnight from, whatever, our NASCAR guy. Be like, hey, so-and-so won the race, can you get this story up tomorrow morning when people walk in the door? Cool, so I'm up till like 2 in the morning on a Sunday doing it. But now they're just using the feed. They're posting it to the feed, and it's still up when people come in first thing in the morning. And that buys my team a little bit of time to actually get a physical, more in-depth story up. So that first piece of news is there, and then we can dig a little bit deeper.
How much of your content is internally focused versus the external? You're referencing the external sponsorships and athletes and so forth?
75% probably. When I train my staff, I make it a point that our employees need to know about it first, and they need to know about it in our language. So we might get a press release or something a week before it goes out, and we'll regurgitate it to be more, throw some cuss words in and stuff like that. So it's about 75%. A lot of the sports is externally facing as well, but it's just because that happens instantaneously. So if someone wins something, it's up on CNN before I can probably get a chance to upload it. So it's very similar on the sports side, but as far as like sales, Bunker Blast, which is all the corporate news, it's straight our speak. It's no fun if they can go to the website and read the same damn thing. Why would they go to our website? Cool. Free sunglasses to the next question.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.